50% interest in 45 days. That was the offer, printed in the newspaper in 1920. And here's the part nobody remembers. For 8 months, a Boston nobody named Charles Ponzi actually paid it. The math that doomed him fit on a single page. Almost no one ran it. This film runs it. Boston, 1920. Charles Ponzi is 38 years old, an Italian immigrant, a decade into dead-end jobs, clerk, dishwasher, translator. He has charm, a straight back, a good suit. What he doesn't have is money. Then a letter arrives from Spain, a business inquiry, nothing special, but folded inside it, so the reply can be prepaid, is a small square of paper called an international reply coupon. Most people would have thrown it away. Ponzi looks at it and sees a machine for printing money. Here's the idea, and it's real. The coupon is a way to prepay postage across borders. After the war, currencies in Europe collapsed. So a coupon bought cheap in Rome could on paper be swapped in America for stamps worth several times its price. Buy paper cheap over there, redeem it dear over here. A genuine gap in the world's plumbing. Real, legal, and tiny. Remember that word, because everything you're about to see hangs on it. So Ponzi opens a company, the Securities Exchange Company, and makes the promise, give me your money, and in 45 days I hand it back plus half. And people do. And this is the moment the coupon stops mattering. Because what Ponzi discovers isn't postal arbitrage, it's something older and simpler. You don't need profits to pay investors, you only need new investors. The first depositors come back 45 days later, and they're paid in full with the 50% out of the deposits of the people standing in line behind them. Those people get paid by the next line. The machine has 3 moving parts: money coming in, money going out, and a story in the middle explaining why. The coupon was never the business, the coupon was the story. And here's why almost nobody checks that story. The machine produces something more convincing than any audited statement. Your neighbor paid. A friend who put in $200 and collected $300 in cash on time. In Boston, that proof walked into every barbershop and church hall in the city. And it recruited better than Ponzi ever could. But a machine like this has one law: it can never stop growing. Hold that thought, because in a minute we're going to do what Boston didn't and run the arithmetic. Watch how fast it moves. February, $5,000. May, $420,000. June, $2.5 million. By July of 1920, money is coming through the door at nearly $1 million a day. Multiply by about 16 for today's money. Tens of thousands of depositors, clerks, widows, newspaper boys, priests, lines around the block. And Ponzi spends like the story is true: a mansion in the suburbs, a chauffeured limousine, and the purchase that tells you where this is headed. He buys his way into control of an actual bank, the Hanover Trust Company. The man running on other people's deposits now owns a place that holds them. The newspapers can't decide if he's a genius or a fraud. On July 24th, the Boston Post puts him on the front page, doubles the money within 3 months. That single morning brings him more investors than any week before it. 2 days later, a financial writer named Clarence Barron does the one thing the crowds never did. He picks up a pencil. If Ponzi's money is really in postal coupons, then somewhere out there should be a mountain of them. Barron runs the number. To back the deposits, about 160 million coupons would have to exist. The number actually in circulation? Around 27,000. Not million, thousand. The entire worldwide supply of Ponzi's supposed business was off by a factor of about 6,000. One page, that's the whole exposé, and it points at the deeper law, the one that kills every scheme built this way. To pay 50% each round, the money coming in has to grow by half, round after round, forever. Compound that and it goes vertical. Double a pile 20 times and it's a million times bigger. Keep going and the machine needs more money than a city holds, then more than a country prints, then more than exists. A Ponzi scheme isn't a gamble that might go wrong, it's a countdown. The collapse is computable from day one, the only unknown is the date. Now watch the countdown, hit 0. Because from Barron's page to the end takes 17 days. July 26th, the math runs in the paper and the crowd forms outside Ponzi's office, this time to take money out. And here is the strangest scene in the whole story. Ponzi serves them coffee and donuts, smiles and pays out over $1 million in a single day. The run dies. Some of the crowd, reassured, reinvests on the spot. Paying the panic was the performance of his life, with their own money. August 2nd, his own publicity man, William McMasters, flips and writes in the Post that Ponzi is, quote, hopelessly insolvent. He would know. He wrote the ads. August 11th, 2 blows in one day. The Post finds the Montreal mug shot. Charles Ponzi has done prison time before for forging checks. The charm has a record, and the state's bank commissioner moves on Hanover Trust, the bank Ponzi bought. The plumbing of the whole operation ceased. August 12th, he surrenders to federal agents. The books say $7 million in liabilities he cannot cover. And when auditors finally open the drawers looking for the mountain of coupons, the entire foundation of the business, they find $61 worth. $61. On November 1st, 1920, he pleads guilty to federal mail fraud. 5 years. His depositors, the ones the receivers can find, get back less than 30 cents on the dollar. Roughly $20 million of savings, gone. The Boston Post's arithmetic wins journalism's highest honor, the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service. If that were the whole story, this film would end in 1920. So let me show you a document called a collateral sheet from a guilty plea entered this January 2026. Atlanta, Georgia, September 2020. A financial advisory firm called Drive Planning starts selling an investment named Real, a guaranteed 10% every 3 months backed, investors are told, by real estate. Bridge loans to developers, fully collateralized, easy and simple. You don't even need to be a wealthy, accredited investor to get in. The company hands out collateral sheets listing the properties securing your money. By the government's account, some of those properties did not exist. Here's the receipt that matters. The very first investment that comes in, $50,000, and within days, 21,000 of it goes straight out the door to repay an earlier investor. Federal prosecutors put it plainly. It ran as a Ponzi scheme from its inception, not month 3, not after some business setback, breath 1. And when one product slows, the machine grows another. A second fund promising, quote, 100% passive income, 22% a year, different brochure, same plumbing. 4 years, more than 2,000 investors pulled in from retirement accounts, savings, lines of credit, roughly $380 million. Averaged out, that's about $190,000 per victim, close to half the price of the typical American home, gone per family. Where did it go? Where it always goes. Earlier investors, commissions, a $2 million yacht, a luxury condo in Cabo. And when federal investigators started closing in, the machine did the only thing this machine can do. It kept selling. Tens of millions more raised while under investigation. In January 2026, the founder, Todd Burkhalter pleaded guilty to wire fraud. 50% in 45 days, 10% in 90, a century of inflation, cheaper suits, same machine. Nothing about it needed a 1920s Boston. It only needed what it always needs, a story in the middle and nobody with a pencil. Which means you can hear it coming. The regulator that polices this, the SEC, keeps a plain list of the tells, and every one of them was flashing in both of the cases you just watched. Here's the list. It takes 40 seconds and it's worth remembering for life. 1. Guaranteed high returns with little or no risk. 50% in 45 days. 10% every quarter in writing. Risk-free and high do not coexist. That promise is the machine's calling card. 2. Returns that are eerily consistent, up every period in any market. Real investments breathe, painted ones don't. 3 and 4. The investment isn't registered with regulators, and the person selling it isn't licensed. That's not paperwork for its own sake. Registration is exactly what makes the story checkable by someone who isn't you. 5. A strategy you can't quite understand or get complete information about in writing. Postal coupons, bridge loans. It's complicated is not a business model. It's a story in the middle. 6. Paperwork problems. Statements late, statements wrong, documents that never arrive. Remember the collateral sheets. And 7. The loudest one, trouble getting your money out, and a sweeter offer if you'll only leave it in. Ponzi's crowd got coffee, donuts, and a smile. The day withdrawals get difficult is the day the arithmetic is ending. You don't need to catch the fraud. You only need to do the one thing Boston didn't. Before the money leaves your hand, make the story show you its receipts. Charles Ponzi never ran the machine again at scale. More prison, deportation, and in 1949, a charity hospital ward in Rio de Janeiro, where he died with almost nothing. 2 photographs survive, the man of 1920 and the patient of 1947, same face, both paid for by other people's money, and in the end, there wasn't any left. The scheme that carries his name outlived him for a simple reason. It doesn't hide the math, it just bets every single time that no one will run it.